But yeah, because of their dynamic and Juvia's whole character thread at this point is her wish for her love to be requited. As soon as it's requited, she's left with not a lot to do. And while it would be wonderful if Mashima requited her love and then gave her other things to do, I don't have faith that he wants to use her in that way. She's a secondary character. So and part of her role is comedy, and a big part of her comedy is the unrequited love shtick. So Mashima's going to play that out for as long as possible, and also it just maybe it sounds bad, but I am one of those people who once the couples get together, I'm just like, okay, now what? I'm just like I am still interested, but at the same time, I'm nowhere near as interested as I was when they weren't together. I'm sorry. I mean, it's human nature. You do lose interest once the. That's why so many shows, go to hell when once they get the characters together who they've been teasing forever because the tension is gone. The tension, the tease, and you lose people's interest. It's just inevitable. And not only that, this isn't a shojo, so they're not going to focus on Juvie and Gray as a couple. It would just they would get hardly anything. Probably once they're together. I mean, their dynamic, like I said, probably wouldn't change that much, if at all, if they got together. But the interest wouldn't be there. The tension wouldn't be there. That would be missing, and that would be a shame. So that's why I think they will drag it on for as long as possible because it's in Mashima's best interest to do so. But that's okay because that's great for us because Mashima keeps adding layers in the meantime. It's not stagnant. It's not like joke after joke after joke. He's adding depth. And that means imagine how much depth it's going to have if we still have two more arcs or so to go. Already, look how much we got in this arc, like how much Mashima's touched on, how much Gray, how far Gray has come, like that vision, that like insight into his head of who was important to him, how he thought of them was huge. It was ginormous because especially with everybody saying, "Oh, Juvie is just another friend. He just thinks of her as like this creepy girl who bothers him, or she's not more important than anybody else, or he certainly doesn't like her, and certainly not in that way." This shut everybody down because he obviously does like her. She obviously is not just a friend, and she obviously is very important because Mashima went out of his way and drew. The only new panel was hers, and she was beautiful. She was showing. He wasn't visualizing her as somebody who's annoying him. He was visualizing her as somebody who was showing him affection. She was being affectionate to him, and he was like, he liked that. That's how she came off, and this was a positive view of Juvia's affection. So that was huge, and it was a big panel. The only other big panel was Natsu's, and that's because Natsu was the one to tell him in the first place, do not kill yourself, okay? And the last panel was Old Tier because if it wasn't for Old Tier, Gray would be here right now, and he knows that. He'd be throwing away her sacrifice if he sacrificed himself here. So, but hers wasn't as big as Juvia's, and it wasn't new either, and neither was Natsu's. Juvia's was the only new panel. Juvia was the only one that was, she was by herself, and it was big, and it was the last thing he thought of before he closed his eyes and said, "I'm sorry." In my opinion, he wasn't gonna do ice make, what's it called, the ice shell. He wasn't gonna do it at all. I think he thought about it for like a second, but then as soon as he went into those flashbacks of Natsu and everybody, that's what he was thinking of, and that he did not want to see his friends crying. And we know for a fact that, Juvia and Leon, of course, cried when he died. Even Melody was crying, and but yeah, he thought about those people, and he thought about Juvia especially, and it was very prominent. That was a focus of that flash into his head, and that was important because it was the first time we actually saw something related to Juvia as being what he was thinking, other than when he was worried about her in Tenrojima. And the problem is, when we do come up to the end of this arc, we tend to get a knockback. right? We always do. We always get something that takes us not back to square one, but gives Mashima something to build off of, and it's usually something negative and comedic. Obviously, last time it was very harsh. Last time it was the rejection. But in my opinion, this time it won't be anything like that. In my opinion, while maybe we'll get something silly, I don't think. I think it will be the moment that we'll have at the end of this arc will be the opposite of a rejection. Not it will be canon, but it will be like really like progressive, and it won't knock us back the way that one did, or felt like it did at the time, because it really did knock us back at all. Like I said, if anything, everything has gone so well since the rejection. It's gone so good. So, and Gure-sama, is really coming around. In my opinion, he does already see her as more than a friend. Even like I said, even the magazine, Grace magazine, said so. Is she just a friend, or and that they flat out, put in like, they're not even playing here. You use the Gruvia special cover as your relationship chart? Really? Really? I'll take it, because that's awesome. And having them say, not that I can read Japanese, but thank you to the lovely people who translated it, um, having it say that Juvia's love appeal is escalating day by day, and Gray is getting slightly swayed by it? What? What? Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark. Heck yeah, he is. Yes, he is getting swayed by it. Thank you, magazine, and wonderful person who wrote that. They didn't even bother to play coy. That's what's so amazing. Like, they're just like, Mashima is like, this is happening, so calm down. It's gonna happen eventually, but you're gonna have to wait for it, and we are indeed gonna wait. So anybody who is sitting there going, when is this gonna happen? You're gonna wait. You're gonna have a wait on your hands. And in the meantime, we're gonna get more progress, more layers, more depth added, and that's great. So yeah, just wait for it. It's gonna be agonizing, because we're gonna like be pulling our hair out. Like, when is this? We're already like waiting day by day for that reunion. So imagine waiting for it to be canon. We're waiting every day for it to be canon. It's not gonna be canon now, in my opinion. So, but soon, eventually. It's not a question at this point of will they. It's a question of how, in my opinion. How will they, and when? And in my opinion, again, when is very near the end, and how, that I don't know. With a kiss is my preference. But we'll see. Yeah. I'm gonna stop, because this again is really long. I'm sorry. Yeah, hopefully this is even, is it any, this, hopefully it's interesting to some extent. If not, I'm sorry again. I'm sorry. I'm always apologizing, but yeah. So, yeah, I'm gonna stop, because it's really long. So, bye.